Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Demons are old. We can trace them clear back to the tale of Ishtar and other Sumerian and Mesopotamian myths. And they plague mortals through a variety of methods, such as the Gello. They come from ancient Greek mythology, dating clear back to the 6th century BC, and have persisted throughout European mythology. They're called the Gello, Gilo, Galu, Gilo, Galu. Now, this isn't the first time we have seen a similar name of a demon. When I did a video on Ishtar and Inanna, I talked about her leaving the underworld Kur, being accompanied with a Galu, which would drag her husband into the underworld in her place. It is also believed to be part of the inspiration for the ghoul, which I still haven't covered for some reason. The Gello is a demon which comes from the soul of a woman who dies as a virgin. She returns as a malicious spirit which will haunt women and curse them. Though its curses are very focused, they cause infertility, miscarriages, and infant mortality. Yeah, she is jealous that she never got to be a mother in life. Now, this isn't the only monster that plagues infants and pregnant women in Greek mythology. We also have the Strix, a vampire owl, and the Lamia, a snake woman. And the Gello and Strix would influence the Striga of Slavic mythology. And there are plenty of references conflating the Gello and Strix. From this crossover, you'll find the tales of the Gello being old crones. Its appearances varies, usually shifting between a spiritual and a corporeal form. Generally, they are humanoid, though when the Strix variant is pulled in, an avian form will appear. There is one tale where she takes the form of a dragon, but in another, she is banished to the mountain and is forced to drink the blood of a dragon. Now, there are many ways to protect your child from this demon. And we can break them into two categories, the pre- and post-Christian versions. The pre-Christian text would include garlic, either the bulb or the flowers, and red coral. In the Greek magical medical text, Cyranides, it prescribes making an amulet by placing a hyena's eye in a purple bag. Oh, we also have using a donkey's skin as a bedspread. Another recommends using a kind of flint called novaculite or galactite can work. Then we reach the post-Christian era, where we will start seeing people placing crosses and images of Jesus beside the crib. Keeping them well lit was meant to aid the protection. In addition, amulets with the image or the name of Saint Sisinnius offered protection with the evil eye of envy on the other side. And there are a few mentions of amulets with a Gello on it helping. So who is Saint Sisinnius? Well, he aided his sister Melitene. She gave birth to 6 children who all died in infancy. So with the 7th one, she cloistered herself within fortifications. After the baby's birth, Sisinnius and his 2 brothers, Sinus and Sinodoros, came to visit. But the Gello snuck in by taking the form of a fly, and then it murdered the child. The brothers chased the demon to Lebanon and beat the demon. Taking Melitene's milk, the demon is able to return the lives of the 7 lost children. Okay, this will require some context. In this text, the Gello swallows the children and keeps the remains inside. This is similar to Kronos and his children such as Zeus. And the Gello also reveals an amulet to protect children from her. It needs the name of the saints, and you also need all 12.5 names of the demon. The first name is Galu, the second Amorphos, the third Abizu, or the deep, the fourth Kakhaos, the fifth Briny, the sixth Bardelius, the seventh Egyptiani, the 8th Barna, the 9th Kalkanistrea, the 10th Edekia, the 11th is missing, the 12th Maya, and the half name is Petomini. And what does half a name mean? Well, it's unclear. So here we are, an example of a demon being controlled by knowing its name. But without the missing 11th name, the charm won't work. But there is another version which lists a different set of names. Gello, Morha, Bizo, Marmero, Patasia, or She Who Strikes, Pelagia, or She of the Sea, Bordona, Ablito, or Limitless, Tromodrachnia, Anabaradelia, Psychoanaspastria, Pedobnictia, or Child Suffocator, and Strigla. So you could try those names. You might have noticed, but many of her names are derived from Greek, which you could argue may be the names of the women who died and became the Gello. There are also many examples of exorcisms being used to dispel this demon. To do so, one must invoke the name of the Virgin Mary. A fitting match, don't you think? In addition, baptizing the baby is also meant to offer protection. There is a surprising bit to this monster, wouldn't you agree? She has spread out and influenced many other myths. Just about every culture has some monster which preys on pregnant women and infants. This should be no surprise, as childbirth is a key factor to maintaining a civilization and culture. There are a few interesting things we can glean from her names. Did you notice that there are references to both being deep and the sea? We could assume that she may take refuge in the ocean, though that is speculation. We can also easily address the conflicting stories about it being spiritual or corporeal form, and the answer comes from the story about it taking the form of a fly. This means we are dealing with a shapeshifter, a common trope amongst such monsters. How was this demon ghost able to bring the children back to life in our saint's story? Well, they may not have been dead. Potentially, the Gello was slowly siphoning life force from the child. This would suggest that it needs to sustain itself, and that way it is more similar to the vampiric Strix. Since we have an example of one repeatedly targeting a single woman, we could assume that they may hold a vendetta from when they were still human. It could be because they knew the person from before. They could look like someone they knew, or something else. This may be up to personal preferences. Lastly, what does half a name mean? Is it just a first name and no last name? Well, that makes no sense. Or is it a name which has not been fully earned? More like a title that she is still working towards. Sadly, I haven't found any description on what half a name is. You can argue whether she is a true demon or just a wicked ghost, though none can argue that she is not dangerous and is best to avoid conflict with. So, how did these saints defeat this demon? Well, I think the best place to begin is with stopping it from attacking. If it can't come near you, it can't hurt you. That means we should seek out the protective charms. Try which of them makes sense to you, whether it is the donkey skin, crosses, or hyena eyes. You could also create the name-bearing amulet if you think you can find the missing name. You may also look into additional methods, but we know they can be harmed. It was done by saints, which means there is a high chance of holy magic being useful here. And we do know that exorcism is effective, which further promotes this idea. This is likely going to be the best way to battle this. Potentially, other forms of anti-demon and ghost spells should be deployed. Now, if you can battle it, you have a couple of issues. Can a sword cut it? Well, maybe? It would depend on whether it is physical or spiritual at the moment. If it is the latter, unlikely. Yet, it may not be able to harm you at that time. Hopefully, if that is the case, you'll need to switch back to its physical form to strike back. It doesn't carry any weapons, but it can use curses. Be ready to use counter spells in dispelling the curses. As for armor, I believe you can get away without anything too impressive. You'll gain more out of protective charms and amulets over plate armor. We also have to handle her stealth powers due to the ability to turn into a fly. In this form, you'll need to be observant and fast. Yet there might be an issue. In our story about the saint, it was said that the Gello swallowed the children. This means that damaging our foe may harm the child if you attempt to fight back. Other schools of magic don't really stand out. Oh, they should work against its physical form, but I don't think they would be standouts. Overall, this is a battle where preparations will help you come out ahead. We know its targets are young women and infants. You can use that to plan your attacks and stake out your actions. If you are a man, you will likely be safe from its attacks. Prepare the amulets and ready your holy magic. This isn't going to be a real simple battle, and I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 to handle. Good luck. If you slay Gello, you won't get much. Whether a demon or a ghost, you won't gain much from its remains. But there is something you can gain, and that is safety. Young women and infants are safe. That is something. But there seems to be a chance that if it devoured your child, you may be able to save them. It might be a difficult task, but parents will go to great lengths for their children. There are literally dozens of stories about it, isn't it? I don't think there's any chance that you could form an alliance with this creature. Well, you might point it to another woman, but it'll end up turning back on you. Don't try it. The Gello is a monster which has tied together several other monsters across mythology and geography. It, like many monsters, preys on the vulnerable and requires being proactive to stop. You need to be ready for it. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.